Welcome to Beyond Sunday, the podcast where faith meets everyday life and where the word of God extends far beyond the pews. I'm your host, Lorenzo Warren Jr. I pastor New Life Tabernacle, Carrollwood, and we are back with part 2. So if you guys have been tuned in, you heard Dr. Ann Pierre really lay some strong foundation for us, but we couldn't let it end there because there's just so much to unpack here. And I believe, man, this is meant to be transformative for us as the body of Christ, as I believe we're in the last days, and I believe God is desiring to do greater things, but he does those things through his people, and we just got to be ready and allow God to lead us and guide us. And so, Dr. Ann Pierre, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to turn it back over to you to continue this conversation, this dialogue, and pursuing greatness, and allow you to finish unloading on us what you've already started.
Thank you. So just to kind of pick up from where we left off, I wanted to actually provide some tangible steps that people can use, or at least what has worked for me, right? Everyone is a little bit different, but this one has worked for me. It's going to be a combination of personal development, perseverance, and actually strategic plan or strategic action. So the first thing is obviously set some clear goals.
Yeah.
So in the previous episode, I noted writing your purpose statement, your mission statement, your vision statement, just for your personal life. Now, mind you, if you could do that, you've done 80% of the work.
Yeah. And
so once you're able to do that, you can extract from those statements and develop goals, like just some and realistic goals. So I usually, when I set goals, I like to set some short-term and long-term goals. Part of the reason is the short-term goals actually encourages me, okay, this can be done. And so, although the long-term goals may take a while, for instance, one of my long-term goals was for me to to earn my doctorate degree. But that's 3 hard years,
yeah.
Okay? Hard years of rejection. And mind you, I am an English professor. I've never been challenged more in terms of my writing. I've had my professor say, or my chair says, listen, this was a horrible sentence. What? I've always been an overachiever. So hard years. So those short-term goals, that actually helped push me in terms of achieving long-term goals. So the first thing I would say is set some clear goals. The second thing is continuous learning.
Yeah.
Read a book, listen to podcasts, listen to the word of God, listen to sermons. You should forever be a lifelong student, because it helps you with self improvement. It helps you to just develop more. The Lord instructs us to study.
Yes.
Study. So you want to make sure that you are constantly learning. I've been slipping lately. I try to read anywhere between 250 to 300 books a year. And I'm slipping.
Hold on, time out. Whoa.
I try to.
You say 250 a year.
And it can be done. So I tend to read 3 or 4 books at a time. So okay. I don't just read one book at a time.
You are absolutely like your bishop. I remember Bishop used to say that. And I remember I used to be like, Bishop, what, sir?
Yeah.
No. But I started doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'm reading, and because I like learning, I love learning different things. Yeah. So I may read, and I am one of those nerds where I'm one of the books may be a history book. I love history. I love literature. I'll just read not just about anything, but I like to make sure that I balance it with things that'll help me, improve. So continuously reading, or continuously learning. So read a book, take courses, just seek, just new experience to expand your knowledge and skills. And I promise you, God is going to use that. I can be in a room and have a whole conversation about politics. I'm not a politician.
No.
I can speak to you about case laws. Like right now, there's this, which has been going on forever, a YSL case, right?
Yeah.
Against these rappers who, a slew of things, right? But I can actually be in a room and have a conversation with someone, and that led to, I kid you not, that led to that person ending up coming to church. I'm like, oh, and it was an attorney.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I just saw this and X, Y, and Z, and this,
Which is a very interesting case with the RICO laws that they're trying to leverage and using music and everything. The precedent that's being set here.
And first of all, especially as of late, all the recusals, I'm like, oh my gosh, mixed in with a conversation on politics, right? And we were just comparing just the different attorney styles.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have not been able to articulate that to him had I not read, or just be mindful or be aware, right? So just be a lifelong student because God is going to use it, I promise you. And then you have to develop some strong work ethics.
Yeah.
I don't expect people to have my work ethics because I don't sleep. I just don't. I rest a lot, but I don't sleep.
Yeah.
And that's just part of my work ethics. I don't deal with man's time clock. Yeah. So people may come to work 9 to 5. I may be here 6 to 2, and then I may go do something else and come back and work. I work my own time clock. Now I can say that it's a little bit easier because I am single, so I don't have anyone to answer to except Jesus. But make sure that you have a strong work ethics, and if you don't have a strong work ethics, that continuous learning, that will help you actually learn the skill sets needed to actually develop strong work ethics. You're going to need that because the next thing is you're going to experience a lot of challenges.
Yes.
There's going to be roadblocks as you're trying to pursue your goals and achieve, as I say, achieve greatness. I just pursue greatness, achieve greatness. You're going to face so many challenges naturally and spiritually.
Please shout that for the people in the back.
You are going to face so many challenges, both naturally and spiritually. So by you studying the Word of God, going back to that continuous learning, by you studying the Word of God, you'll be able to pray scriptures against those challenges. You'll be able to know how to just on the spot, just putting on the whole armor of God, because you'll be able to identify, oh, this is a spiritual attack that's trying to stop me from doing X, Y, and Z, or this is a natural attack. Okay, no weapon that is formed against me shall prosper. You'll just be able to automatically just pray scriptures. And I always find that praying scripture is the most effective way in terms of facing those challenges. So you want to make sure that I actually say embrace the challenges.
Come on now.
You can't just shy away from it. First of all, I'm a fighter. I will fight you down, okay? And I'm like, no devil is going to think that they're going to just fight me and think that they're not. You're going to walk over but limp back.
Listen,
okay?
One of the worst things you can do, like, to me, is mess around and tell me that. First of all, you don't tell me I can't.
Hello.
Because that's the truth. The response you're going to get is watch me.
Correct.
Because you're going to see this. And then don't try. Like, quitting's never been in the blood. And losing just don't.
I'm not losing. I'm not, because what I like to remind the devil is, hey, you forgot who my daddy is.
Facts.
Okay. So, and I say it with such boldness and authority. I'm like, hey, you better back down because, hey, I'm trying to save you right now. You better back down. And so I actually embrace the challenges, and because it also causes me to grow.
Yes.
It gives me that assurance that, okay, Ann, all right, you do know Jesus. You do have, a relationship. It just confirms and seals that relationship that I have with God. And then I just like to sing God's word. Like, I'm just not gonna lie. I'm spoiled, right? Jesus just, when he does his thing, I'm like, okay, Daddy, thank you so much.
I need y'all to pick that up. Please pick this up. She just said, you're going to experience challenges, setbacks, obstacles. But also in the same breath of words, she said she's spoiled. Please stop measuring God's work in your life by by the highs only and not by the low.
Correct.
One of the scriptures that are one of the most popular is Psalms 23. And David does tell us, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thy preparest a table in the presence of the valley is still there, y'all.
Right.
The valley is there, yet he's still, and he's talking about this as he's talking about how good God is to him, because the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, leadeth me beside still waters. But he mentions the valley. You don't allow the setback. I think this also is a great segue to kind of mention the importance of understanding what faith really is. And that faith isn't this pixie dust that just allows God to do these great things in your life, but that faith is the element, it's this tangibility. A scripture that stands out to me always is when the Lord tells Peter, he says, Peter, Satan desires to sift you as wheat. But then he says, but I pray for you that your faith fails you not.
Right.
Which helps us to then understand that faith isn't this thing that just gets God to do something for me, but faith is that thing that keeps me when I don't see anything else that's promising in my life.
Right.
The path does not align with my vision or my mission right now from what I can see. But then it also, that's why Paul tells us, for we walk by faith and not by sight.
Right. Right.
We got to pick this thing up, because if we're going to achieve the greatness, these are some things that we got to really get practical on and to stop allowing the enemy to think he's win. I don't even like people to think they win it.
Listen, I'm not. First of all, because a couple of things. To me, that is actually where God shines.
Yeah,
God shines in the valley.
Come on now.
And because the valley is supposed to be dark.
Yes.
Okay, now when he's stepping in, he is the light. Like, he's going to shine even the greater. And as a result, my faith is going to increase. Yes. So then, as I'm pursuing this, because again, there's not going to just be one challenge, two challenge, etc. Your faith level increases. That is why, even looking at Psalm 23, he prepares a table in the presence of your enemies. To me, that sounds like a setup. Like, God's like, look, you ain't gonna like this, okay? I'm gonna make sure them enemies come. But hey, I'm just gonna let you know, I'm preparing the table in front of them. Like, and why is he doing that? He's building your faith. He's building your trust. He's reassuring you that, hey, I got you. And so when the enemy thinks that he's gonna throw these darts and whatever, because he's going to do it, I literally, because I'm very dramatic, I literally laugh. Because I want the devil to know, hey, I'm laughing while I'm opening this door and telling you to get up out of here. You know, so I say embrace it. Don't just, and I thank God for it.
Yeah.
So people think I'm twisted. I know when I pray at Nouveau, and they're like, "Wait a minute, you thanking God for this challenge?" Yeah, Jesus, thank you so much, because I know that, number one, I'm going to overcome this.
Yes.
And secondly, I know there's going to be lessons that I'm going to learn from this, because the next time it's going to be better. And by the way, now I'm able to encourage others and say, look, I'm definitely able to have a testimony. Hey, man, listen, this little thing that you're going through, just understand it's little. Okay, God did X, Y, and Z for me. So I know that this thing right here, it's going to feel like it's going to feel as if it's going to devour you. But hey, I've been there. You're good. Just you're okay.
So really, we have to really begin to grab a hold of and understand that many times in these challenges, it's like God's entrusting you to go through this, because he's saying, you're going to come out on the other side of this. Right. As pure gold. Right. Again, diamonds. How are diamonds produced? Extreme pressure and extreme heat. Yeah. Right. That gold, not the gold that's at the mall stand at the middle of the store. Not that gold. Not the cheap gold. Not the gold plated, but real gold. Right. Real gold is produced when it goes through a refining process. And that takes extreme heat to pull out the imperfect. So when these challenges come, and believe me, I ain't saying you gonna like them.
Correct.
I ain't saying that.
I'm sure Job didn't like any of them.
Facts.
Like,
listen,
one.
Job, Joseph, even Abraham and his stuff, right? Noah is building this boat. I can only imagine some of the stuff they were saying. Because the Bible tells us that the hearts of men were continuously wicked. So they had to be cruel. I'm pretty sure Noah woke up someday. I think it took him as long, not just because of the size of the structure, but I think Noah probably woke up some days and somebody to mess around and hid all of the wood that he needed. Somebody over here, he had to be pitched within and without. Somebody that took everything he had. Like, imagine the things he had to go through to accomplish what God did. I mean, the things that Paul went through. But it also begins to make you think back to what Paul said, right? Paul said, man, listen, I asked the Lord 3 times, like, hey, Daddy, can we get rid of this? And his response was a resounding, nope, not happening. Why? Because he said, my strength is made perfect in weakness. So then Paul's response, similar to what you just said, is, so then I glory, right, in my infirmity, right? For when I am weak, then I am strong.
Right.
It's...
So I would say embrace it. Embrace the challenge. Thank God for it. And whatever the lesson that you need to learn from it, whether it's, hey, I need to increase my faith, or hey, I need to pray more. I need to delve into his word. I need to learn what prayers to pray, what scriptures to pray in those times. Whatever the lesson is, thank God for them. Like, okay, God, I got it. I got it. So that next time, I know how, because it's going to come. It's going to happen. So when it does happen, I've grown to the point where I can actually deal with that. So, but going back to the thing, the 5th thing is, I always say, build a support network. If you're like me, I don't necessarily like people in my business, but I've learned over the years that sometimes it's just dumb, right? Especially if you're talking about you're pursuing greatness, you're going to need a support system, whether it's people praying for you, whether resources, because you may not know actually how to achieve a goal. But if you have a mentor, if you have somebody who's where you would like to be, why not talk to them? Why not ask them to mentor you? Why not ask them to be your accountability partner? Yes. It's just, God did not call you to isolate yourself. Even if he did, it's probably momentary so you could pray. Yeah. But he's not even isolating you because you're with him. So it's just, I don't understand those who are hesitant to network with others, because actually you will need, especially during those challenging times, you're going to need a support system. You're going to need people who are going to say, look, press on, push through. That's okay. Or we got you. Don't worry about it. You've got this. You need a measure of cheerleaders. It's
not biblical to be in isolation like that. Correct. Because what does Solomon tell us in Ecclesiastes? 2 are better than 1, right? And he says, woe to the one who's alone. If he falls in the ditch, there's no one there to help him, right? But if there's 2, so you fall down, somebody else can help you get up. And the 3-stranded cord is not easily broken. Right. And Bishop used to always tell us there's 3 types of people you should have in your life, right? You should have somebody that's pouring into you. Your mentor. You should have some people that's on par with you. Y'all going in the same direction. And then you should have somebody you're pouring into. Yep. Right? Absolutely. That system. Yep. And there's a book that I recently read called Redefining Possible. Right? By whom? It is by Ron Alford. Redefining Possible. Got it. And I got this. There's this coaching company that I was in this meeting, and they were talking about it. And again, anytime somebody put books out there, I go and check all my sources. And Redefining Possible is available on Hoopla. If you ain't on Hoopla for your audio books, you need to get on Hoopla, because Hoopla is where it's at, and you get to listen to stuff for free. But that book, one of the things that they dealt with was, right, who you have around you and the importance of having the right people around you, as well as a number of other things, right? I recommend it's a good read or a good listen for an audiobook standpoint, because these are things that, again, you start talking about some of the wealthiest or people that we would somehow have seen that have found some measure of success. They all talk about what you're talking about right now, and having that support system, having the right people around you, right? You can't always be the smart. If you always the smartest person in your group, you ain't in the right group.
You are not.
You are not in the right group. Yeah. You got to have some people that you can be looking up to, that you can be saying, that you can be gleaning from. And that goes back to one of the points you already mentioned, always learning, right? They say the wise man learns from other people's mistakes. So definitely Redefining Possible. Check it out.
I'm actually going to read that. I'll probably read it this weekend.
Yeah, you'll probably get done with it. It's not a long one, so you'll probably be done with it quick.
I always the next thing I encourage people to do as you pursue greatness is practice self-care. If you notice, one of the things I put in my statements, spa treatment, I want to enjoy the beauty of the world. I want to travel. I want to enjoy spa treatments and so forth. And I can provide you scriptures for every last one of them. I'm like, I want, you need to have, rest. That Sabbath is so important, traveling, embracing the beauty that God created. I don't want to just be confounded to Tampa, Florida, and the beauties that our wonderful city has to offer. I'm like, I want to see the majestic of other countries, other places, etc., embracing all that God has created. And it also helps you expand your knowledge, but also help you in terms of seeing things using within a different lens. Yeah. If you are confounded to just one, and I got to be careful when I say this, but just one avenue or one path in terms of pursuing your goals, you're going to always place God in a box. Yeah. And God does not operate in a box. And so I always say, in your self-care, God will even use that to help you in terms of achieving the ultimate goal, expanding the kingdom. Yes. I remember when I traveled to Paris recently, I was in a cab just talking to the driver, and he was a driver, but he also was giving us like a little mini tour, and he was talking, he was showing all these beautiful cathedrals and giving us the history and so forth. And he's talking, he's like, "Are you guys Catholic?" And we're like, "No, we're not Catholic." And then I said, "Well, yeah, I'm apostolic." "Well, what is that?" "Well, that's I'm Pentecostal." "What's that?" We just had a conversation just by me going to Paris, exploring, and we're talking, and I'm learning about all these cathedrals, and we were able to have some dialogue about what I believe in. He's like, "I've never heard that. I'm going to look into that." I said, "Yeah, here's some things in some places that you want to look into." I'll try to find Apostolic Church in Paris. I couldn't find it, but I'm like, here's some things, or some scriptures to consider, X, Y, and Z. I gave them the church website. I said, we have sermons. You can listen to our sermons, etc. So if I didn't practice a measure of self-care, God would have not used those opportunities in order to reach someone that I probably will never ever meet again. So self-care is important. I also, the next thing I would say in pursuing greatness, remain humble. Always remain humble and grateful. Yeah. Because God doesn't have to do anything for you. I learned that the hard way.
So I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to help give an understanding why I want you to hone in a little bit. Okay. On this humility, because I feel like there is a misconception about what true humility really is, right? Yeah. There's a book that I read called Leadership Pain by good night Samuel Chan. I'll provide that title. I mean the author, but it was a leadership pain, and he was talking about this humility thing, and he said, a lot of people, we deal with the sense of false humility. Humility isn't tearing ourselves down, right? That's a false sense of humility when you just talk negative. But he said true humility isn't. Good night. How did he say this? I'm going to butcher it right now because I haven't said it enough here recently. But he said true humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less.
Okay.
Many times we think of it as I have to think less of myself.
Correct.
God, he said you the apple of his eye. He said you fearfully and wonderfully made.
Thank you.
He does not want us to think less of ourselves, but he wants us to have a viewpoint in which it's not all about me. That was, and when he said that, I was like, bars.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
So what has that looked like for you in this pursuit? This true humility.
Okay, so this is gonna sound so weird and so off because hey, I am single, but I've always said, I was actually asked this in terms of marriage. In terms of marriage, how do you define love? And I say, well, I know the world, they want you to be like all romance and all that. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's beautiful. For me, it's considering one another in all things. That to me is what love is. You consider me, I consider you. And so I kind of equate that in a sense in terms of humbleness because I am the bride of Christ, right? And so he showed me love because he considered me to the point where he died for me, right?
Romans 5:8.
So therefore, for me, what humbleness is, I'm constantly considering him.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking less of me. I'm thinking of him. And so I have to kill my flesh because I want to make sure I'm considering him. I have to make sure that the way I conduct myself, the way I walk, the way I talk, that I'm a reflection of him. So therefore, that when you see me, I exude him and less of me. So that is how I've come to know what humbleness is. And that kind of guides me because when I actually am pursuing things, I'm like, what would Jesus say? What would Jesus do? Okay, it's not necessarily about, what Ann wants. Okay, God, what would you say about this? And how am I going to know? Through prayer, reading his word, I'm like, I can't do this because now I'm not a reflection of him. Now this may cause offense. People may misconstrue, what I'm trying to do.
Yes.
And so that to me is what humbleness is. It's not putting myself down, as you were saying. It's not that, but it's less of me and more of him. And then because he considers me, what did the Bible say? He will lift me. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I'd rather him do the lifting than me because where he's going to lift me is probably unimaginable.
Yes.
If I did it, then I would probably reach to a certain point, but not reach my full potential. Yeah. And if I'm trying to pursue greatness, I want to be able to reach my full potential in him. So that's how I've kind of come to understand being humble for me. So it's a marriage to me, or how I see marriage, where the husband should always consider the wife. The wife should always consider the husband. And so
you hitting the nail on the head. I know you say but she's really hitting the nail on the head, because when you begin to talk to people who have done it, I break down marriage into stages, right? I say from years 0 to 5, you working on your AA. Mm-hmm. Right. And then from 5 to 10, right, it ain't until 10 years where you got your bachelor's, right? And then at 15 now you you hitting your master's. But then those next 10 years, it ain't until 25 that you get PhD status.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, it's continuing education. You got to keep getting your certifications, right? You got to keep these things active. But you talk to anyone at these stages, that's the thing that they begin to tell you. It's not, people got it all twisted. It is being able to, I think about someone else before myself, right? It's that's one of the first things you end up learning, or I know that became a big deal for me, right? And I'm almost at master status. We had 13. Nice. We almost had master status.
Nice.
But that was one of the first things. But when I go to the store, not just what I want, but hey, is she gonna want something?
Right.
Is she gonna need something? It literally became a thing now. When I go home, no matter where I'm coming from or what I'm doing, if on my way in, I'm always, hey, is there anything you need? You don't need me to stop and get anything. Or I'm just thinking, is there something she might want? Mm-hmm. And try to, right? Why? And I think you wrapped it up beautifully. That's true humility, right? I'm thinking of someone else before me.
Correct.
And in our relationship, I think you dropped so many nuggets there, even with the balancing act of how I can pursue kingdom and allow it to manifest naturally, right? Because some people feel like, well, I don't want to feel like I'm leaving God out, but just be humble.
Correct.
Because if I pursue Him in all things, no matter what I do, that's what's gonna course correct me if I'm getting a little bit outside of where I need to be. And I think that would help so many people. That can help us all to remember that, right? Just think of Him. Just think of Him.
And He will. I think we like to think for God, and God is like, listen.
My thoughts are higher than yours.
You took the words out of my mouth. Like, look, you're going to tell me? Let's talk about what I said. So I try not to think for God. I sometimes I have to catch myself like, well, Jesus, could you? But I try not to think for Him. He knows best. I'm just as I'm pursuing Him. I'm like, God, I hunger and thirst after you. So what would you want me to do? It's not about me. And I have no problem where, from time to time, like, Lord, I'm expressing my desires and so forth. That's communing with God.
Yes.
And so that's why I said you also have to, not only in your humbleness, you have to be grateful.
Yeah.
You just have to be grateful, acknowledging Him, putting Him above everything. And even in your natural pursuits, you can do that and just watch him do the rest. Yeah. I just have confidence. I'm telling you, faith is so important in terms of that. And then the next thing is giving back. I think that many saints, we tend to overlook this part, forgetting that we are supposed to be servants.
Yes.
We're called to serve, right? That's what a minister does. And we're all ministers, right? Some of us just got license, paid his, fee every year, but I digress. But you're all ministers. And what is that? We're serving. We're servants. And so in pursuing whatever you're wanting to do, have the heart of a servant. Yeah. That's why I say, and it doesn't, you can, of course, serve in your church. If there's functions, if there's ministries, get involved in all those, but also pursue or serve in other capacities in your community. Host a food drive. From time to time, there's a local recovery program, Sober Life, that I would provide support to. I particularly like feeding the hungry, so I'll do those things. In those pursuits, in the process of you pursuing whatever goals that you want to achieve, it'll keep you humble.
Yeah,
it'll definitely keep you humble, and also indirectly keep you closer to God. Dealing with both natural and spiritual sense of servanthood, and you'll have a greater impact. One of my statements was that I want to have a global impact.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have an impact. I'm not going to impact my community if I refuse to go beyond the church. Like I just can't do that. But then there's a beauty in terms of doing that. God will actually use you in that. God will strengthen your skill set in that. And God will probably add more things in terms of your vision, in terms of your goals, based on the burden that he produces. So you know that if you now have a burden, okay, now this is aligned with what God's will. God is not going to place a burden in you just for whatever.
Yeah.
He has a reason. And again, I cannot stress this enough. I know I said this a couple of times in the first episode, but you don't have to know the why. You don't have to know the end result. Just do that. So I would say just give back. Have the spirit of serving others, because that is going to be reflected in your relationship with God, which would in turn ensure that you remain aligned to his will in your life as he uses your talents, as he uses your gifts, as he uses your burden in terms of building his kingdom, all while you're pursuing your goals. Stay persistent. Stay persistent, right? Persistent, and I should actually throw this in, be consistent.
Yes.
I kind of feel that just from my observation, that if things are not going right, people tend to give up. I'm like, no, you have to persevere. You have to be persistent in terms of achieving those goals. Going back to those challenges, if you let those challenges stop you, you're not going to achieve anything. And I refuse to let anyone or any devil win.
Yes.
Bottom line. And so how are you going to do that? You're going to be persistent. You're going to be consistent. If you drop the ball, pick it up and continue. Just pursue.
I think in that regard, there's a couple of things that even you pick up in that right there is sometimes we even over spiritualize it. If something ain't going right there, and we say, well, that clearly it might not be God's will. No. It is God's will is for you to overcome. Mm-hmm. God's will is for you to endure.
Right.
So we gotta. I'm not saying that God won't sometimes correct you by saying, "Hey, you don't need to do that." But the more time I spend with Him, the more time that I listen to His voice and stop trying to think for Him, that will correct that.
Right.
But we gotta be persistent, and we gotta press through. We gotta overcome, man. Allow God to do some things, right? Just stop. Stop.
And that actually honestly leads me to my next thing. Reflect and adjust. So, instead of saying, maybe, God doesn't want me to do that. No, reflect. Did you do something that caused that ball to drop? Were you consistent? Did you, maybe God is wanting you to adjust. Okay, but reflect, evaluate, if you will. Okay, why is this not working? And even if it is working, okay, this is working. What am I doing to make it work? Oh, maybe because I prayed a little bit more. Maybe because I humbled myself and I'm pursuing what he's saying. Those things will actually encourage you, or should encourage you, at least encourage me, to actually just keep pushing. I'm like, okay, I know what worked, and I'm going to stick with what works until God tells me to readjust. Okay, I dropped the ball. Instead of me saying that, okay, maybe God doesn't want me to do it. Okay, well, let's evaluate.
Hold on, say that again. You dropped the ball.
I dropped the ball.
It's okay, folks, there was a book I read. It's called The Wealth Choice, right? And one of the things he was talking about, it's a book like dealing with Black millionaires, right? And he was talking about, the fact that, most wealthy people, they've had a setback, they've had a failure. We got to learn how to take L's. Mm-hmm. We got to learn how to learn, though, right? Yeah. We're so afraid to lose that we miss out on the opportunities to learn, right? There's a song that I like, right? Yes, I like different types of Christian music. And so there's this song by this guy named Z, and it's called Hit Different, right? And there's another guy who has a verse in there, and in his verse he says, even if my chin fails, end up taking a big L, every single L is a lesson. I win different. And he's emphasizing the fact that even where I fall, even where it doesn't go right, even where I have the setback, I learned in that. And so I still went. All your wealthy, successful people will tell you they don't learn in their success. They actually learn the most in their failures.
Right.
So she said, if I drop the ball, if you drop the ball, pick it up and keep going.
Right.
I don't know why. I literally feel a heaviness in talking about that, because I feel like so many people, they drop the ball and that's where it stopped. Their journey stopped there. Yeah. Their pursuit stopped there.
And it doesn't make sense, because again, this is where people forget that you cannot divorce the natural and the spirit.
Yeah.
Naturally, you're probably going to fail. Okay, what do you do at during those times? I used to play the victim.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to be quite transparent. When I was in my 20s, I don't know, now I'm in my 40s, I'm like, I ain't got time to play the victim. But in my 20s, I used to play the victim all the time. And then I started to think about it. I'm like, okay, every time I'm playing the victim, or every time I allow or every time the ball drops and I don't do anything, what was the end result?
Yeah.
As you said, that's where it stops. So what I started to do, I started to seek wisdom and understanding. And when you start seeking wisdom and understanding, that it ties into what you were saying in terms of learning.
Yeah.
Seek wisdom and understanding. That's where that evaluation comes in. And actually, Proverbs 4 verse 7, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, though it costs all you have, get understanding. So you have to seek wisdom and understanding even when the ball drops. Because again, you'll learn the why.
Yeah.
You'll learn, okay, when I did it this way, it didn't work out. All right, God. And or it will help you to seek him the more, because maybe he's allowing the ball to drop because he's like, you're heading in the wrong direction. I'm no longer in the forefront of your mind. And God will do that. Lord knows he showed up, did that to me. So, which leads me to James 1 verse 5. And of course, this is a different translation. If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So if you seek understanding, if you seek wisdom, and you seek him for it, man, he got you. He got you. But if you just let that ball drop, or, you don't pick it up, if you don't get that, then you're gonna really struggle. And because there has to be a trust, a level of trust in God that, you know what, he got me. This is going to work out. And honestly, if I'm just going to keep it 100, that is not the easiest thing
at all.
It is not the easiest thing. But then that also lets me know that I am thinking more of myself and my ability, and not leaning on God's ability. And so when you're pursuing greatness, remember you're leaning on God's ability, and he can do all things. And you can do all things, but what? Through Christ. So if you don't get that mindset, you won't be able to work diligently. You won't be able to have that work ethics that is needed. You won't be even willing to learn, having that continual learning mindset. Be willing to be consistent and persistent. None of that will matter. You wouldn't even be able to be humble unless you first trust in God.
Yeah.
So really the first step, even before you set your goals, the first step, if you're looking to pursue greatness, you have to trust in God.
Yeah.
You have to trust in God, because, again, especially if you're one of those, I'm mission-minded, or I'm kingdom-minded, that's wonderful. But then you'll get confused in terms of how God is using your natural talents and all these natural elements to help achieve kingdom.
Yeah.
You're going to lose all that. The last thing is staying rooted in love. I learned I learned that the hard way. When you're pursuing greatness, I promise you that you'll realize that your greatness is not for your benefit. You'll obtain even a great measure of benefits, but it's really not for you. Because God works in a domino effect. There's a ripple effect in terms of how God works. He didn't save you just for you to keep it for yourself. It's to encourage others. It's to, if we're going back to Romans, the scripture in Romans chapter 12, right?
The very next verse.
Right? If you go back, in fact, let's go before, okay? Verse 3, because of the privilege and authority God has given me, I give each of you this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given you. Just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. He's telling us that we belong to each other. Everything we do is not for self. He gives us this, the skill sets and so forth. But why? Because he's looking for us to help serve one another so that we can function in a way to expand the kingdom. That's why. And then when we get to verse 6, he's like, in his grace, God has given us different gifts to do certain things well. He said, if God has given you the ability to prophesy, there's an action. You got to speak out. Why? Because you're going to encourage someone. If your gift is serving others, he's given an action. Serve them well, right?
Yes.
If you are a teacher, give you an action. Teach well. If your gift is to encourage others, he's giving you an action. And none of these actions is for self-gain. It's for self-benefit. It's really to benefit the others. Why? Because while you're encouraging them, while you're teaching them, hey, you're probably pulling them out of the pits of hell.
Yes.
And when you pull them out of the pits of hell, what are they now? They are now part of the body. They now have a function. And what is their job? Now their job is to go and actually be a teacher and teach well, encourage other people, give generously, lead. He's telling you that, hey, there's a domino effect to all of this. So really, while you're pursuing and achieving greatness, you really need to make sure that what you do, and as you're pursuing that you stay rooted in love. God is love. And so you'll have the heartbeat of God. So that's why I say, going back into episode 1, people who are just stuck in, Spirit, I just need to do everything ministry, which is great. You are supposed to do that. But when you cannot balance that out with the natural and bring ministry out, you are doing a disservice to the kingdom of God, because God was not confounded in his time on earth, was not confounded in church. His ministry, I might, he went to the synagogue. You may get that 1 or 2 scriptures about that, but the bulk of his ministry was him going out, using natural things, using fish and bread. That's natural. To reach the people. He was storytelling. That's a natural thing.
Yes.
In order to reach people. And why did he do that? Because he is love. So everything was rooted in love. And so if you remember that is a mindset change. So even in moments of discouragement, moments of when you're just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. You know what? I'm rooted in love. God, there's an ultimate goal, and it's above me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I no longer care where God takes me. I'm just like, Lord, just lead me.
Yeah.
Just lead me. I know here are some goals. Here are some things. I want to use it to the best of my ability. I'm just going to use it. And what's so beautiful is that God will still allow you to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you're aligned with me. You're pursuing after me. You're pursuing, you have become my heartbeat.
Which aligns with the scripture now when he talks about he'll give you the desires of your heart.
Because your heart is him.
Yes.
So when you do that, he'll give you everything you want, because you're also making sure that his will is being done. And that's really all that matters. So those are the things that at least that I've learned along my journey in terms of pursuing greatness. So yeah, and when I think about it, which is what in the first episode, when I thought about the litany of things that I've been able to accomplish, it boggles my mind. The fact that I'm a best-selling author,
come on now,
boggles my mind. I'm like, listen, I'm from Overtown, Little Haiti, Miami, okay? And anybody that knows Miami, people counted me out even before I turned 5, right? And here it is. He's like, okay, you have a desire. I'm going to start you off just as an event planner, project manager, director, professor, business owner, author, minister, running a church. Like, I could have never fathomed. I literally just wanted to go to school, write books.
Yeah.
That's literally what I wanted to do. Maybe be a secretary. That's all I wanted to do. Write books, maybe become a secretary. And he's like, yeah, I got greater things for you.
You know what that sounds like?
Mm-hmm.
The fulfillment of Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you.
And the all these things is not limited. It's not like a 5 list.
You could even imagine.
Correct. Correct. And so if you're wanting to pursue greatness, pursue God in all things, including your desires, your goals, based on your passions. God did not put those passions and burden in you. If you want to become a singer, I don't know why I keep going back to singing, because if anybody knows me, I don't like singing, or that's just not my thing. But I kind of feel like somebody who's listening wants to become a singer. Even in that, you're in you edifying God, you have no idea who you will impact.
Yeah.
I don't care how old you are.
Yeah.
I don't care how old you are. Go write that gospel song, make that hit, and you'll see how many people you're able to impact. And it is okay that it is outside of the church, because again, we need to impact the masses. And so God didn't give you that burden. God didn't give you that desire. It didn't just come out of thin air. God placed that in your spirit for a reason. Just make sure that, okay, it's aligned to his will. It's aligned to his way. He didn't just give this to me, so I'm just going to try it. Even if you just got to start on the praise team, I'm just going to start ministering the praise team. That may open doors for you to, I don't know, next time or at some point start singing in conferences.
Yeah.
Okay. Then someone may be at a conference and say, hey, I'd like to record with you. Okay. And all that just sparked from you just having a desire to reach people to God, for God through song. So whoever that was for, God bless you.
Better pick that up.
I'm like, pick that up.
Pick that up. Don't let that seed fall.
Right. So yeah. So that's those are the tips that I have in terms of how to pursue and achieve greatness. Yeah, in all things.
Listen, these 2 episodes. These aren't listen once and done. These are go back, pick them up, and digest it, because again, the reason why I wanted to have this dialogue with you specifically is because I've been able to witness some of the journey, right? And of course, only to an extent, but been able to see it. And it's just something to be said when you see the fruit, right? You see the impact of the ministry, see the book, see, right, the business, the impact, the seed the opportunities I've been able to see you in action and teaching and reaching and conveying and things that I've seen you be a part of, right? It just goes beyond the regular, the ordinary, right? And it goes to another level. And I think that's something that I just want to see. And I just want to see people win. I want to see people win in such great ways. And it actually grieves my heart that I feel like there are generations that are coming up that don't even see winning as an option. They don't even see certain levels of winning as possibilities. And that's just, I don't believe that's of God, right? I don't think that limit is there. So I'm excited and I'm grateful that you're willing to come and share and pour your heart out for us and share your experiences and these tools that I believe that people can pick up and apply in their own lives. One last thing I'll ask you, because you've consumed so much and you're ever learning. Are there some books you would leave for us that would be something that you would recommend people pick up that can help them along this journey of pursuing and achieving greatness? Honestly,
and I'm going to kind of be a little bit selfish here. I actually want people to pick up my organizational book, Out of the Box. Out of Order, because it'll help you. It's designed really for like a work-life balance, but it causes you to conduct self-evaluation.
Yeah.
And then gives you the steps in terms of how to achieve those. So I would say humbly, to actually do that. To do that.
Tell us the name.
It's Out of Order. If you go on my website, it's available on Amazon and pretty much anywhere books are sold. But if you go to my website, Works by Dina, that's .net. So that's WORKS, D as in David, I, N as in Nancy, A.net. You should be able to actually to obtain. It's a workbook, but it has a lot of nuggets that I think, just based on our conversations, that will help you.
Yes.
And it'll help with even with the work-life balance. And even with that, there's a misconception with work-life balance, but it'll help you to self-evaluate. I think once you're able to do that, then books would be beneficial. But until then, you'll get a lot of knowledge, but not know how to work it, and that's always my concern. But also once you've done that, you could always reach out to me at worksbydina@gmail.com and kind of tell me where you are, and then I can kind of give you suggestions in terms of books based on where you are and what you're trying to achieve. So that is my strong recommendation for now. There was a thought that I had when you were speaking. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, I do remember. My last nugget is this: when you are actually pursuing greatness and you see and you align yourself with God, don't be shocked when you don't realize how much you've achieved. Don't be shocked, because honestly, it's for two reasons. Primarily, it's because when you align yourself with God, it'll become so natural that you actually won't even realize it.
Wow.
And you have to be careful with that, because in all things, I want to acknowledge him.
Yes.
In all things, I want to give him thanks for what he's done. But honestly, most of the things I've achieved, if people don't tell me that I've done those things, I'm like, oh, really? Or in my mind, I'm like, you actually think that's a big deal?
Yeah.
And so I pray that you get to that point to where you're achieving so much that you're like, it's just second nature. And that can be done, and it will be done. If you apply some of these things that I've told you, it will be done, because that's just how God operates. He's just so awesome. He's just so dope that he's just like, it's second nature. Yes. And if you're pursuing after if you become his own heartbeat, it's just going to feel like, okay, next, and it's okay to feel that way. But in all things, acknowledge him and give him thanks.
So listen, go and cop this book, because it's going to help you if you're really trying to take these steps. Go and do that. And you know what? I'll even say this. I will purchase a copy for someone. So if you listen to this on our YouTube page, right, and the first one to comment and say, listen, I need this book. And I'm only going to do it to the first one. So you have to type in there in the comments, then we'll reach out to you and get you a copy of this book and put it in your hands. And listen, and she even offered to reach out to, once you get started. Now you got to do something. You get started and then touch base. And then there's a way to be able to further that journey down. Listen, we're so grateful. We appreciate you being so willing and open to share, to pour out of yourself of what God's done in you, through you, for it to be able to benefit us. And only time will tell. And I think the half won't be told. We won't know until glory of the impact I think this is going to have in the lives of people and for the kingdom and for the masses. And so thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a blast, and I pray we all pick it up. But until next time, this is Beyond Sunday. God bless. See you soon.